Good morning, YouTube, on this lovely Thursday morning, June the 3rd of 2021. This is a quick space weather recap. As you might know, or not know, there was a CME a few days ago, and it was bound to hit the 2nd or the 3rd. As it stands, it did so the 2nd. We can see there is a minor blip in speed and density, but also the PZ component and magnetic field start to fluctuate. The question remains, however, if this is actually a solar wind from a coronal hole that actually arrived, or if this is still the CME giving us a glancing blow, because I will show there is actually over here a coronal hole from which solar wind should reach us the 3rd or the 4th, so either today or tomorrow, and I'm guessing it might still be on its way, because if you look at the speed, usually coronal hole is associated with a rise in speed. The speed is simply not there, not in the slightest. We have barely 300 kilometers a second. So at the moment of speaking, I'm guessing this is still that CME, or its effect at least, which are lingering. The proton density is there, that's undeniable, but there is no speed. And this is again proof that in order for something to be geo-effective, we have to have both components. Density and speed must rise both, or you won't have a geo-effective impact. So let's take a look actually if this was geo-effective or not. First of all, let me just put this back over here, or delete this altogether, we don't need this anymore. Let's take a look at the magnetometer. So we see the impact of the CME that grazed us. It caused some compression, decompression actually, and then compression. So clearly it happened, but in my opinion this is still ongoing at the moment of speaking. If you look at the KP index, there is starting to be a rise, but not enough for a geomagnetic storm. But again, this could change. We could have levels reaching to unsettled. A KP5 seems very unlikely, but who knows. So we'll have to see when that solar wind arrives actually from that coronal hole, because then we will have a rise in speed as well, and who knows, we might just reach a KP5. Yes, this is stereo ahead. Usually I use LASCO and that cactus overlay, but I just tried it a moment ago. We'll do it again, and it wasn't available. So I'm guessing that the website is, oh yes, it's back online. No. So you see the data is missing from the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd of June from the LASCO instrument. Okay, that's not a big deal. I still had the stereo ahead, but only from yesterday. So this is it basically, and we see what seems to be a CME, non-Earth directed, I think, but it doesn't show up actually in the NASA ISWA simulation, neither on the Enlil spiral, so from the Space Weather Prediction Center. We will have to see in the coming days concerning this particular CME. Oh yes, on another topic, these are actually noctilucent clouds picking up the pace over the northern hemisphere, and they will actually continue to increase, especially in the month of June, as usual. So looking at the magnetopause standoff position, or distance rather, we see actually a drop, and this is actually the impact of the CME clearly visible when we had a compression. I'm not going to run that other simulation from the magnetopause, but this one rather, because nothing happens actually on the other one. But on this one, that's a different story. We see actually something interesting, and again, it's in the current belts. So I'm going to start this. Let me just put that in the beginning and press the start button. So we have that CME which will arrive, as you can see. There it is, a compression. Not much because the speed simply isn't there. At 300 kilometers a second you can't expect much, but you see actually the density culminating on the bow shock. What strikes me actually is, look at this, the closed field lines yet again literally being blown away. And then let me just pause that. So we have lots of closed field lines which are literally, you can actually see them depart, and then all of a sudden they retract and almost disappear on the back side. So all the action happens on the back side, not per se at the front this time. And again, this is a proof of a weakened magnetic shield. And by the way, I read actually an article, and I will dig into a downloadable version. It seems that the electrons in the current belt actually, they replenishes themselves and depletes whenever a CME arrives or a solar wind from the coronal hole. So whenever there is a geoaffective space weather event. And actually, when the magnetosphere actually comes closer, they have a tendency to be depleted much more than actually in normal conditions. And I'm guessing that it is because, let me just show this again, that all these strange things that we are seeing are basically caused by the magnetosphere coming too close. And I had a hunch that this might be the case, but I didn't know whether it was cause or effect. So apparently it's not the current belt that causes these strange events. It's actually the magnetosphere weakening that causes the current belt to discharge more than it should be, because it crashes too close to that geosynchronous orbit. So it comes too close to Earth, basically. So there you have it. This might be a possible explanation. Okay, let's take a look at the earthquakes, and again, proof, why am I showing this, that without geoaffective space weather conditions, there's literally very little quake activity in the world. So there's definitely proof that it is all tied to space weather, the solar wind to be more precise. So we have 5.4 somewhere in China, which is the biggest quake, so nothing really to talk about. There is some activity in the Yellowstone area in some seismometers, Grand Village, Pitchstone Plateau, a little bit on Moose Creek, but nothing serious. Oh yes, before I end this video, and by the way, if you haven't subscribed already, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notifications, turn them on, because otherwise you will miss any future content that I make, and this would be sad. So, the Arctic anomaly is now completely gone, and I want to show this because it is really tied to, or actually it's the other way around. So the polar vortex, in my opinion, started to split in all these clusters and disintegrate when this Arctic anomaly was present. So there's clearly a connection between all that erratic stuff that happens in the upper parts of the atmosphere, especially in the northern hemisphere, and it is tied to this anomaly. And I do believe that it is really just the opening to inner Earth, and that currents basically from our inner sun, our magnetic fields reversed actually, and this has caused all that erratic stuff that we saw in the polar vortex. And if you want to look how does a normal polar vortex looks like, it looks like this. So I was not telling you lies or anything. It is supposed to be on top of the Arctic and be of a nice circular shape. So there you have it. Okay, this is, by the way, I did make a weather video update in which I actually compare it to an image that I took in the beginning of May the 4th, I think. And if you're interested, just browse to my playlist on weather and you will actually find it. It's the latest video I made. So Before we end this video, let's just take a look at a philosophical quote as usual. And I do believe it is this time 51. Oh yes, this is actually interesting. So how do you recognize a fool? So it said over here, by 6 qualities may a fool be known: anger without a cause, speech without a profit, change without motive, inquiry without an object, trust in a stranger, and capacity to indiscriminate between a friend or a foe. So, if you want to know if you're actually a fool or not, just take a look at these 6 qualities, and if you have them all, well, obviously you're a fool. Okay, I'm going to be honest, I have a few of those qualities, but thank God not all 6 of them. This is it, people. Thank you for watching this video, and I guess we see each other next time. Bye bye.